It's a really who knows what's going to happen there. It's a strange world in college football right now. Not too strange though on a Friday morning to bring Mike Bernard in from OTM Sports. Mike, how are we this morning?
Doing great, Coach. Good morning. How are you?
We're doing well. I don't know if you were listening into that last segment, but we're talking about Mel Tucker and Pat Fitzgerald suing their respective universities after being fired. And it's a wacky world that we live in. Has Vegas got any odds on whether these guys are going to get their jobs back or not?
No, but they do have standing odds for the first coach fired in the NFL every year. And
Yeah,
I think that might be Eberflus before last night, but they Chicago got a win. So
yeah,
who knows? That's going to affect the odds on that. But no, out in Vegas and especially offshore, you can find all kinds of odds on team to finish last in a division, first coach fired. You can
yeah.
you can find it.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let's move on to the SEC featured game of the week. We know we've got you for a short amount of time, but and we jokingly say that because next year this game will be the SEC featured game of the week. Number 12, Oklahoma, number 3, Texas in the Red River shootout. And I'm not going to say Red River rivalry, forget
Me
that
either.
mess. It's the Red River shootout in the old Cotton Bowl. There, right outside of downtown Dallas. Both come in undefeated. Texas uh, had lost 4 straight to the Sooners until they crushed them last year, 49-0. Now, if you just put eyeballs on both these teams, they both are a better version than they were this time last year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. It is a Big 12 matchup, but the SEC would claim both of these teams on what seemingly is going to be a down year for the SEC, at least to this point. And the Longhorns of Texas, they opened 4.5. They were bet up to 6.5. It was a sharp move, so they're a touchdown favorite. They're off to a great start. Oklahoma's off to a great start after that disaster season last year. I feel like the line movement was a very sharp move, but I have a small lean to the Sooners here.
Top 25 matchup between number 23 LSU, number 21 Missouri, and it's the Battle of the Tigers. Mizzou actually is the undefeated team in this matchup, and of course LSU sitting at 3-2 after scoring 49 at Ole Miss and still losing by 6. And despite being 3-2, LSU is a touchdown favorite, and as crazy as it sounds, still in the mix for the SEC West. They run the table and they win this thing. Not much respect for Mizzou right now, but an interesting fact that I came across: these two teams have only played 3 times, and Missouri has the edge 2-1.
Yeah, that is a little surprising, but Mizzou came over in what, 14? So they
Yeah,
haven't been around that long.
right.
LSU opened 7 in this game, Coach. Missouri got all the action. Some betting groups I know bet Missouri, so it went down to 5.5 early in the week. LSU, they're like a 3-0 roulette wheel. You can't pattern them. You can't see what they're going to do. It's hard to handicap a team like that. Mizzou's off to that 5-0 start. The wins against Memphis and K-State, especially K-State, those look really good. K-State's a good team. I've got a small lean to the home dog here.
Number 11, Alabama, unranked Texas A&M. Both come in at 4-1. Tide's only about a 2.5 point favorite. Last time I saw, had a sluggish start in Starkville last week. Ended up being a runaway win. Last time Bama traveled to College Station, they lost on a last-second field goal.
Coach, Alabama opened -4.5. They're down to 1.5 now. So
Wow.
when you look at this series, Alabama's won 9 of the last 10. They were favored in all 10 of those. Of course, Alabama's been a favorite in 108 out of 109 games, it seems like. The favored by less than a touchdown in this game. They were only favored by less than a touchdown one time of those 10 meetings. Here, they're only -1.5. A&M's 4-2 against the spread in this series, and it looks like a good spot for them, but 1.5 is just not enough to pique my interest.
Notre Dame coming in at number 10, number 25 Louisville. Irish escaped Duke last week. No doubt about that. Louisville took care of business versus the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. The Cardinals, they have a different mentality and a different swag than they have in the past. The swag that they have this year is a swag of confidence and not a swag of look at me. I love what Jeff Braun's done there at Louisville thus far as alma mater. Notre Dame, even though they're favorite, I like Louisville in the upset here.
I'm with you, Coach. And I look at this Louisville team, and they're somewhat like that Boston College team. It was probably 20 years ago, but I'm thinking 10 or 15. They kept winning and winning and winning. They weren't good. We all knew they weren't good, but they thought they were good, and they ended up winning 10 straight games. Louisville could be this year's version of that type team. You mentioned it. The Duke win last week. Not only did they come back and win, they also covered by going for 2 at the end. But that was a tough spot. Well, they're in another tough spot here. They escaped that spot last week. Now they face a capable Cardinals team. That Louisville team has an extra day of rest. Tough sandwich game because you know who's up next for Notre Dame? USC. So it's a good spot for Louisville. I like the Cards.
Number 20, Kentucky at number 1, Georgia. Best thing that could have happened to Kentucky last week, they saw an undermanned Auburn team stand toe-to-toe with this Georgia Bulldog team. Worst thing that could have happened to Kentucky last week, same thing, because now Kirby Smart has got these guys' attention. Bulldogs are favored, a little over 2 touchdowns in this thing, and I think they'll be ready when Kentucky comes calling Saturday night. I think for Kentucky to be in this game, Georgia's going to have to play sloppy.
Right, and I can't watch full games. I have to mix my time, watch most of my games on replay. But I watch a lot of that Kentucky-Florida game, and I'm thinking, Kentucky's for real. The running back is the real deal. Georgia could be in trouble. Well, you mentioned it. That was good and bad for Kentucky. So also Kentucky looked dominant against Florida. So that's another data point or a point that Kirby's going to be able to get over to his team, show them that film, say, hey, look, they just ran through the Florida Gators. Kentucky looks for real. They smothered Florida. Florida couldn't do anything. Georgia struggled in Jordan-Hare. But don't forget, Auburn has beaten the number 1 team 4 straight times going into that time. The last 4 times a number 1 ranked team went into Jordan-Hare, they lost. And now they're 5-0 against the spread, 4-1. So that was not really that unexpected for Georgia to have a tough time. With all that said, I think the point spread, when I read the indicators of the market and see where the groups are playing, it looks to me like Georgia is going to cover this number. And even though just straight handicapping, I feel like Kentucky should, but situationally, it's a play for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, Mike, we appreciate your time as always on this early Friday morning, and we'll be speaking with you again on Monday. And always interesting to get your text over the weekend during games. A lot of insight there. Appreciate you, and we will talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
You too, Coach. As always, I enjoyed it.